Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Steve Hogan. I was completely ecstatic when I found out that I was going on an OPUS Prize trip to Africa. I had never left the country before, so I was extremely grateful for the opportunity to travel halfway around the world. But on an even more fundamental level, I felt a sense of pride about going on this trip to visit Father Peter. As an African American, I speak for myself, my family, and many other families like mine that have always dreamt of going to Africa and connecting with our ancestral roots at that level. And thanks to the OPUS Prize, that dream was able to become a reality. But what stands out the most to me when I think about my time in Malawi is one simple yet very powerful word that we've heard tonight: hope. The people at this refugee camp have faced horrors throughout their lives, from famine to genocide to political oppression and many other atrocities. But hope is what kept them going. What was truly surprising to me when I got to the camp was the fact that many of the people at the camp were so similar to me and my family. I met several young men and young women that reminded me of my friends back home. We laughed and joked in the computer room and discussed sports and politics and music. And it was the same type of conversations I would have with anyone here today. And at the end of the day, it's because we're all people. They're people just like you and me. And they have their hopes and dreams and their failures and disappointments as well. And more than anything, the work that Father Peter and Jesuit Worldwide Learning, Higher Education at the Margin, the work that they did truly restored my faith in humanity. The JWL program and the work that Father Peter does is truly a salvation for the people in these refugee camps. You know, I sat back and watched as literally hundreds of people got in line and prepared for the interviews that they were about to have to become part of the next incoming class. And they were all so nervous, yet so excited and so optimistic about the possibility of educating themselves and bettering their future and making a better lives for themselves and their families. Now, Selena and I's time in Malawi was a bit of an emotional roller coaster, to say the least. For maybe the first day or so, to be honest, I was overwhelmed. And I had a culture shock at witnessing the extreme poverty that these good, honest, hardworking people had to deal with each and every day through no fault of their own. But then after a couple days of meeting with several amazing individuals and seeing all the beautiful smiles on the little kids' faces who all they wanted was a hug and to show you how far they could kick their homemade soccer balls, I felt a sense of joy and warmth on the inside. But at times, that joy would turn to guilt. Why was I so fortunate? Why was I so lucky to be born in the land of opportunity while these people that are literally just like me, that would be my friends if they lived in this country or in a different part of the world, why were they stuck to be born in a land of suffering? These people will literally do anything for an ounce of the opportunity that I take for granted each and every day. To go home to a warm bed or to a hot dinner. To be able to sleep throughout the night without fear. To be able to educate themselves and to become any and everything that they want to do as long as they worked hard. But that's where the great work of Father Peter and Jesuit Worldwide Learning becomes so important. Father Peter is giving these people the opportunity to change their narrative, not just for themselves, but for generations to come. And you know, and often in these underdeveloped and so-called third world countries, there's a big focus on unskilled labor education and employment. And while that type of work is certainly important, what Father Peter and Jesuit Worldwide Learning is doing is also important because they're giving people a spark of imagination. In these authoritarian countries where these refugees are coming from with their despot leaders, you need a population of intellectuals and critical thinkers in order to problem solve and make determinations about what's truly right and what you can truly do to people and what's wrong, and to be able to shape the future that they want to see. That's the work that JWL does. That's the work that Father Peter Balleis does. Now, these people have had literally everything taken away from them, from their homes to their families, their livelihoods, their cultures, even their own identity. But there's a few things that will never be able to be taken away from them, and that's their education and their faith, no matter how desperate the ruler is. And that's thanks to Father Peter and Jesuit Worldwide Learning. My time with Father Peter has greatly impacted my own faith. To see such great adversity and despair facing the people at the camp, yet to see them believe that salvation is still possible, is life-changing. You know, God's grace comes in many forms, and while the people at the refugee camp may not have great material wealth, the warmth of their spirit was incredible, and it was a journey that I'll never forget.
DRC?
Yes.
Peter Balleis is an extraordinary person. He essentially allowed JCHEM to be born. Jesuit Commons, Higher Education at the Margins, which is known as JCHEM, is an organization that was created with the basic idea of unifying Jesuit institutions of higher education and mobilizing their resources in order to bridge the gap between those universities and marginalized populations. Refugees can come and they can learn from academic programs that are created by universities far away.
We have a real obligation to the universities to maintain high quality. And also we have an interest that we want high quality for the refugees, the best for the refugees, the best for the poor, not something cheap, not again something cheap for Africa, not again it's good enough for them. No, the best. Countries only take off if they have enough tertiary educated people. And I say it a little bit simplistic. Africa and the poor countries don't need anymore just carpentry for the boys and sewing for the girls. That's what we did long ago. I was also a missionary years ago. It's sensible. We do it also here. Some people do these skills. They have these skills. But you also need to add sophisticated skills and tertiary level skills. Otherwise, you will never get out of that situation.
I'm coming from a French-speaking country where everything is in French, and I learned my English in this building. JCHEM really opened the first doors, making me believe that things could be possible again.
If 300 young men and women go home in the evening, have learned something, and the atmosphere is much more positive, optimistic. Education gives hope, and this is deeply spiritual. To believe somebody will help you is faith, it's lived faith, you know.
Brilliant people can come to be their brilliant selves again after that was taken from them because of the circumstance of their new lives as refugees.
I learned a lot. I discovered many strengths I couldn't know that I had. It has been a really good school for me.
So when JCHEM came, it was like it brought the new future to me. I took the IT program that has empowered me to reach where I am. That is why today I can be proud of opening something like Technolab. You have to use a variable. Technolab is a lab that gives you knowledge in computer programming and life in general. What we have kept. I'm also doing all those things while I'm a student in GCHEM.
Their credits are being recognized. Others have started a business. So when I spoke today with a Malawian, he has started an agriculture project. He employs 7 people and he's kind of a leader in his community. They translate what they have learned in their way, what is useful to make life better.
GCHEM still have agriculture, sustainable agriculture and community nutrition. Yeah, that's leek, tomatoes, the pumpkin, no fertilizer. Be sure that this is a natural garden.
And if you train somebody, a community leader, if somebody of these graduates gets somewhere in responsibility and has a bit of a different thinking, it can affect the life of thousands of people.
Peter was always urging us to find a way to make graduation a community event because he understood that JCHEM has the potential not just to improve the lives of its students, but to improve the lives of every single person in this community. JCHEM means something to them too.
Transform thinking, transform the world. Distinguished audience, it's a great honor to get the work of Jesuit Commons, Higher Education at the Margins, now Jesuit Worldwide Learning, Higher Education at the Margins, honored in this context by the OPUS Foundation. So I'm very grateful on behalf of all our staff, our organization, to the OPUS Foundation and the Rauenhorst family. I'm in particular grateful to two persons. It's Professor Mary McFarland, who has been till September the international director of this work. She has built it up, carried it forward, her effort, her skills, together with Cindy Bonfini Hartloss, our Vice President for IT and Innovation, who unfortunately got stuck at the airport in Denver, cannot be here. I'm very grateful to these two people, and they are honored with this, being also in the finalists here, because they build it up, and that shows one thing. This work is a work of collaboration. It's not of one person. I came in, I'd made my humble contribution to it, it's true, as former International Director of the Jesuit Refugee Service, as a partner of JCHEM, now JWL, and to make that work. It's a collaboration of universities. Number of you, also all the US Jesuit universities had that idea, supported it as Jesuit Commons to offer higher education for people at the margins. So we are grateful for Gonzaga, for Georgetown, but in a very particular way I would like to mention Regis University, and the president, Father John Fitzgibbons, is here. Regis is going to host the Opus Prize next year because they told us, we know how it works, online learning. It's going to be definitely difficult and challenging, but we make it work, and they did it to make it work. So they spearheaded something which I hope, of course, in this context of Creighton University, also to enhance with this global initiative of Creighton, to perhaps also come to that level of collaboration of becoming and awarding universities. We look for more universities to work together in this ever-growing global work. It's a work of the Society of Jesus, very much so. In the pedagogy, all the courses are being designed in the same form by the team, the design team of Cindy Bonfini. Look first at the reality, the context, analyze, reflect, and act to bring a transformation. It's a blended model. We care for our students. We don't just give them a computer and sit online there, but we care for the students. And there are tutors on site and faculties, quite a number of faculties also of Creighton, who help to teach, to accompany the students in the courses. It is formation. As it was said, we need people who grow who are becoming leaders in their communities. And what you saw, the example of Malawi, you have to multiply by 11. There are 11 learning sites of that size around the world: Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Chad, Malawi, Kenya, Jordan. And in 2 weeks' time, we are going to have 3 more sites in North Iraq. I have been there in June, beginning of June, and the young people, Yazidis in one camp, young women who escaped sex slavery to be sold in Mosul by IS, because they could flee away from the Jinnan mountains, to help them with education. And they told us, don't come here, take photos and lists and never come back. Of course we come back. Of course we stick to our word. Of course we help them with education. In the other camp is in the Syrian refugees, and in Dohuk town, 220 have already signed up. We are going to start. First with English, then vocational training, and some already right away with a diploma. So very soon, Regis will have another campus of a few students in North Iraq. To address a problem, if we don't bring higher education in this context of situation, it will never change. The young people live in despair, hopeless, and then they are falling prey to the fundamentalists. This work is a global work and will be scaled up, and it is about learning together. We have the global classroom, a virtual classroom, the learning community. Community is very important on site, and it is, as it was already said, it's about, in the liberal arts course, about giving young people the instruments of critical thinking, of thinking and reflecting together. What we did yesterday in the church, the intercultural expression of our faith, they also do that in the reflection, in the intellectual reflection about to understand one another, the faith traditions in the classrooms. Students are always asking, how do you see that from your angle, that issue, that problem, that question, from your angle of your culture and your religion? I believe strongly that we can only face into the future by learning together. Walls, isolation, going back to solutions which have created disaster in our history, and I speak of the German and the European history. I believe this is the only way forward to bring people together. We are pleased that with Creighton University, some of the students will join our classrooms next year. And that model can grow. Let the young people think and reflect together. Technology provides the platform, because in a world when democracy is on retreat, dictators, fundamentalists, and populists are taking ever more the stage. We need to equip people with critical thinking, with the instruments to put the questions and to think together, because I do believe education, higher education, is the light which shows the way home, to a peaceful home in Mosul, to a peaceful home in Aleppo, to a peaceful home in Syria and wherever, and in Congo and so on. And higher education is a profound spiritual source of giving this young generation hope. Thank you very much.